So I don't think that that's very productive. So how can cities help us to be more productive?
Hello, good morning. I'm just leaving home to go to work. The apartment where I live now is only easily my favorite for its close distance with the LRT station. Stepping out from the apartment's gate, it only took me 2 to 3 minutes to get to the station and another 3 to 5 minutes to get on to the train on a normal working day. As a young adult just starting off my career, working in Kuala Lumpur is challenging, particularly in terms of commuting from one point to another and trying to get there on time. People typically say that you can't live in KL without a car, but I can. I have been all my life. My sisters too. So much so that we do not see a necessity to acquire a driving license. I walk everywhere, every day. I have almost zero need for a car, except for when I'm terribly late to work or when I have too heavy of a luggage to carry on my own. My non-reliance on cars is enabled by the Klang Valley's integrated railway system, which connects major industrial hubs and locations of interest in Greater Klang Valley, a network of 11 operating rail lines. A bus rapid transit line is included too, which is part of the Sunway City development. This helps people to move around Klang Valley, primarily within the city centre of Kuala Lumpur. Yet, how do we get to these stations? KL residents typically reach these stations by foot or by other modes of public transport, such as buses, taxis, grabs, or they get someone to drive them there. Moving Public Transit Index reports that it typically takes a person 17 minutes to wait at a station for either a bus, a monorail, or a train in KL, but 50% takes more than 20 minutes. On average, people walk up to 0.8 kilometers to work or home, and about 3 out of 10 people walk up to 1 kilometer to reach their destinations. On top of that, 51 minutes is the average amount of time people spend in public transit, and 52% spend more than 2 hours taking public transportation every day.
So before I moved here, I have to wait like 10 minutes for a bus, and then 20 minutes on the bus, another 10 minutes for monorail, and then 3 to 5 minutes walk to my office. So I don't think that that's very productive. So how can cities help us to be more productive?
In America, the fact that you walk to work in a car-centric society is simply because you cannot afford one. It is generally known that a car is a liability, but on top of that, to the lower income group, it's a financial disruption. The unfortunate circumstance is that most Americans live in places where car ownership is mandatory. How can we achieve a healthier life and increase our productivity at the same time, no matter what our income bracket is? Make our first and last mile transportation connectivity efficient. A component of a sustainable city is a sustainable transportation system, and a component of a sustainable transportation system is a city's walkability. Let's break them down into bite-sized definitions. Sustainable city addresses social, environmental, and economic impact through urban planning and city management. A productive city boosts economic competitiveness by focusing on economic growth, job creation, and infrastructure investment, which subsequently creates pathways out of poverty through accessible local economy and social inclusivity. Sustainable transport is the capacity to support the mobility needs of a society in a manner that is the least damageable to the environment and does not impair the mobility needs of future generations. What about walkability? According to Project Drawdown, walkable cities reduce carbon emissions and improve quality of life, therefore playing an important solution for cities to adapt to climate change. The 5 Ds of the built environment: density, diversity, design, destination accessibility, and distance to transit, as developed by Reed Ewing and Robert Severo, are significant influences to an area's walkability. According to American city planner Jeff Speck, neighborhoods must possess these elements to be deemed walkable. Walkable neighborhoods have a center, whether it's the main street or a public space. Enough people for businesses to flourish and for public transit to run frequently. Mixed income, mixed use, affordable housing located near businesses. Plenty of public places to gather and play. Buildings are close to the street and parking lots are relegated to the back. Schools and workplaces are close enough that most residents can walk from their homes. Complete streets, streets that are mostly designed for cyclists, pedestrians and transit. Another definition is by calculating walk score. Walk scores measures and addresses walkability by analysing hundreds of walking routes to nearby amenities with maximum points given to addresses that take only 5 minutes walk to any amenities. 0 points are given to any walk that takes more than 30 minutes. How walkable are cities in ASEAN? Let's find out the city's walk scores. KL Central, Kuala Lumpur, scores 60. It is somewhat walkable. Sandra Jakarta is at 83. It is deemed very walkable. While Quezon Manila, Philippines, scores 58 points. It is somewhat walkable. Ilang Road at Singapore scores 96. It is a walker's paradise. Being able to walk to functional spaces is a mislooked privilege. Walkable communities are healthier and more economical, but they also offer so much more. They are more diverse, resilient, sustainable, friendlier, and greener. These in-demand neighborhoods draw people from all income brackets, and research shows that people who live in these types of neighborhoods and communities are healthier and happier. According to Blue Zones, walkability reflects physical well-being, transportation choice, economic health, and good land use. Overall, they suggest that people who live in walkable neighborhoods are fitter, exposed to more arts and culture experiences, are more likely to engage in social activities, have more friends, and are happier. In fact, CEOs for cities found that a 1-point increase out of 100 in walk score is associated with between a $700 and $3,000 increase in home values. These benefits are supported by an article by Bloomberg City Lab. Walkability affirmed increase in property value. Denser neighborhoods with high walkability experience fewer crimes. Improved health in various outcomes from heart diseases to diabetes. Another research found significant impact of walkability in promoting and encouraging arts organizations, creativity, and again, civic engagement. My favorite of these benefits, improved mental cognitive health. There seems to be a component of a person's mental representation of the spatial environment. For example, the ability to picture the streets like a mental map, said Amber Watts, psychologist at Uni of Kansas Alzheimer's Disease Center. The study tracked people with mild Alzheimer's disease and cognitive impairment. The finding? She adds that complex environments may require more complex mental processes to navigate. Our findings suggest that people with neighborhoods that require more mental complexity actually experience less decline in their mental functioning over time. Now, the elephant in the room, people versus cars. ASEAN boasts a huge combined population of 665.1 million residents. In the year 2019, ASEAN Statistic Data Portal lists down the number of registered vehicles in each ASEAN countries. When added up, the total came to a whopping 254.8 million vehicles. That number only points to one thing: traffic congestion. Aside from that, the transport sector is a significant contributor to man-made greenhouse gas emissions. A study by Slowcat shows that transport consumed the most energy of any sector in 40% of the countries globally and the second most in the remaining countries. The International Energy Agency (IEA) estimates that transportation accounted for half of the total oil demand in Southeast Asia in 2015 and will account for 53% by 2040. Oil is projected to remain the dominant energy source for transportation taking up more than 90% of the entire transport energy consumption by 2040. IEA also estimates that in Southeast Asia, road vehicles contributes to 28% of total energy-related carbon dioxide emission and about 92% transport-related carbon dioxide emission. This is due to economic progress, which leads to increased demands for travel, which in turn may result in negative impacts such as the increased consumption of fossil fuels, air pollution, congestion, crashes, and greenhouse gas emissions. Such trends are becoming more prominent in the ASEAN region, which, as a bloc, already has the second largest road vehicle fleet in Asia. Walking also costs the city very little, unlike cars and even public transit. According to Speck's book, if a resident takes a bus ride, it may cost them $1, but cost the city $1.5 in bus operation. But if a resident decides to drive, it costs the city $9.20 in services like policing and ambulances. When a resident walks, the cost to the city is a penny. The 15-minute city tenet had been going around for a very long time, pioneered by the Europeans. The principle is residents live within a short walk or bike ride of all their daily needs. So why can't we have 9 things in life? The National Association of City Transportation, NACTO's Executive Director Linda Bailey says that in years past, the National City Planning Standard addressed people walking as an afterthought and hence has been working on creating built design guides that help cities to be people-oriented, which includes transforming a heavy traffic two-way street into a neighborhood main street. Look at Oslo's success story. Norway's capital city has been a pioneer of pedestrianization, recording 0 pedestrian and cyclist death in 2019. Parking spots were removed by the instruction of the city council and people are encouraged to use public transport. Beyond safety, street business has improved by 10% and pollution is reduced. Vox says that one of the biggest reasons many cities aren't walkable is because land is dissected into uses, something called single-use zoning. It's impossible to go buy your groceries, attend your dentist appointment, and buy a screwdriver for your home in a single walking trip. Let's talk about something beyond walkability. Micromobility. Micromobility is an emerging market in recent years. After the pandemic, a ride-sharing service was hit tremendously by fear of being infected with the virus. Now that things have eased up, the industry boomed. But what is micromobility? A technology analyst, Horace Dediu, is one of the famous names in the industry of micromobility. He founded Micromobility Podcast, which you can listen to on Spotify. His definition of micromobility is any shared vehicles weighing less than 500 kilograms. Why? Quoting his own words from a Medium interview, not because I think that that's a good weight, but rather because I think no car could be made less than that. He pointed out that typically, the technology comes first, the infrastructure comes second. It's why all these scooters, for example, have been so controversial in so many cities. They've popped up before scooter parking spots or scooter-friendly streets have been developed. In TriMet's Manager of Mobility and Location-Based Services, Bibianas make huge words. If we continue as we are, putting more and more vehicles on the road, nobody is going to be able to move through the city. Even I couldn't have said it better than that. Throughout human history, before cars were widely available, incentivized, and relied on, walking was the main mode of transportation. Streets were designed for the safety and comfort of pedestrians and connected to a community's commercial center for access to services and goods. Walking needs to again become a natural, accessible, and primary mode choice. Walkability is treated as a static part of a city. Your city is either walkable or not. You either need a car or you don't. But a city's walkability is dynamic and can be improved with people-oriented city planning, which will benefit the local economy and make societies more equitable. I want a future where I can walk to my workplace, to the groceries pushing out my collapsible grocery trolley, then stop by a stand for an evening ice cream and eat that at the park on my way home. I want a future where children can take the bus safely to school and walk to the playground for an evening of swings and a tag game, or to the nearest library. Getting into the city center should be easy, but I won't have to if everything is within walking distance. The footpath is comfortable to walk on, it's shaded, protected from sun and rain. At night, it's well lit and secured. Other complementary amenities are also provided for other micromobility modes.
To me, it's about putting people first, and cars somewhere along the bottom of the pyramid.